With a Big Ten regular season title and bragging rights on the line, Maryland men's lacrosse failed to capture the rivalry trophy. Maryland baseball also struggled on the road in Nebraska, but one Jim Terp made history at the NCAA Gymnastics Nationals. All of that and more coming up on this edition of The Left Bench.
The rhythm of the game was really kind of an odd game in a lot of ways.
And I told him, don't flinch, be brave, just go for it.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Laura Shaughnessy alongside Alex Gary, and Alex, we have to get started with the big game of the weekend, the rivalry out in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, anytime the Terps and the Blue Jays get together, it's just fireworks. It was the 120th edition of the rivalry on Saturday, and the crowd of more than 10,000 that came out to Homewood Field was the largest in college lacrosse this season. But once Maryland and Johns Hopkins took the field, fans weren't treated to goals, but rather a defensive slugfest. Blue Jays off to a hot start, a goal from Garrett Degnan and two from Jay Angelis to make it 3-0 early. Then here comes Jack Corus with the Terps' first goal, and to leave it to Daniel Kelly to get a couple of clutch goals to tie it at 3. But the Blue Jays take the lead, making it 6-3 at half. Now to the third, Terps get 2, but the Blue Jays add another to make it 7-5. And that was the last of the scoring. Johns Hopkins wins it 7-5, clinching the Big Ten regular season title and this 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Here's what head coach John Tillman had to say after the loss.
The rhythm of the game was really kind of an odd game in a lot of ways. And I think just turnover-wise, I don't think either team's going to be happy with 19 turnovers. And you got to give the other team credit, but also you kind of have to go 19 sure is a lot.
To talk more about the Terps' loss this weekend, along with their outlook heading into the postseason, we're lucky to be joined by Terrapin Sports Central's men's lacrosse beat writer and the new editor-in-chief, Josh Panepento. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Thank you guys for having me.
So Josh, we saw a devastating loss in the Terps' final game of their regular season, let alone the rivalry game. What wasn't working for the Terps?
Yeah, I mean, it came down to the most important thing, the thing that wins you games, and that's scoring goals. They only had 5 goals in the whole match. They didn't score at all in the final 23 minutes. That's not going to win you games. And they couldn't take advantage of man-up opportunities. John Hopkins committed 4 first-quarter penalties. Maryland had 4.5 minutes of man-up opportunities, only scored twice during that span. That's not going to win you games.
Now, as you said before, the offense kind of has been struggling, but Logan McNaney has been solid, single-digit goals in the past 3 games. What does he need to be doing, along with the rest of the defensive unit, to keep this momentum going into the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The last 3 games, McNaney he's been lights out, and he has been all season. And he's coming off of a huge ACL injury too, a really devastating one. But I think just his confidence, along with the rest of the defense, especially those veteran guys who were here 2 years ago when they won the national championship, like Ajax Zapatello, Colin Burles, if they continue to stay confident, just be good leaders to the younger guys, it'll all click.
And with the Big Ten semifinals rapidly approaching, what will it take for the Terps to pull it together and ultimately close out on top this season?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, the defense is playing great. It's just about the offense needs to figure things out. And since their next game is until May 2nd, that gives John Tillman, who's one of the best coaches in all of lacrosse, he's going to get almost 2 weeks to game plan. So I think that they'll figure everything out, start scoring goals again, everything will click.
Now, looking a little beyond that Big Ten tournament towards the NCAA tournament, right now the Terps are at 8-4, 3-2 in conference play. What type of seeding would you project the Terps to slot in as?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. I think that they have a really impressive resume. They have 5 ranked wins. And with that, it's really going to come down to what they do in the Big Ten tournament. As the 2 seed, they're probably going to have to play Penn State in the second round. They beat Penn State 3 weeks ago, but it's hard to beat a team like that twice. I still think they'll get one of those coveted top 8 seeds, but where they fall in that 8 is going to really depend on what they do in this Big Ten tournament.
And now, in comparison to some of those other teams in the ACC, Duke, Virginia, Syracuse even, how do you think they match up to them now in this point of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've said it already. It comes down to the offense. They already beat Syracuse this year, but they took a pretty big loss to Virginia. I think they'll learn from both of those games, no matter what the outcome was. And John Tillman will be able to cook up a good game plan against those teams.
All right, well, that's all we have for you today. Josh, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And you can check out all of Josh's coverage on X at Josh Panepento and online at TerrapinSportsCentral.com. Now, we talked about the rivalry game before, but what makes a great rivalry? Is it the history, celebration, or just the want to hit your opponent a little bit more? All these elements create a good rivalry, but what makes a great rivalry? Well, after 120 years, Maryland and Johns Hopkins men's lacrosse have figured out how to not just have a rivalry, but instead to have the rivalry.
I think Maryland lacrosse fans can go to hell.
I think they wish that they went to the University of Maryland,
Maryland, Hopkins, bitter foes on the field and in the stands.
What really matters is beating Maryland every year.
I wish them all the best from today until Friday, but then Saturday, I'm sorry, but I can't be friends with you.
For the past 120 years, Maryland and Johns Hopkins men's lacrosse have faced off against one another in the rivalry, with a chance to take home the coveted rivalry trophy.
We have the trophy. It's sitting right in our lacrosse center, and we can walk by it whenever we want and look at it, and we know that we want to keep it here. It's already here.
Players from both sides feel the intensity of the week and know what's at stake on Saturday.
Hopkins and Maryland, they don't get along, so it's going to be the same things as the past.
It's just another game, but this is why you go to Maryland, to play in games like this, to play Hopkins, probably the biggest rivalry in college lacrosse.
Both the Terps and Blue Jays will be ready for a game fueled by hate, but mixed with the love of the game.
That rivalry and the amount of players that come out of Maryland, it speaks to the history of lacrosse.
For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Alex Gary. And Laura, although tensions have been high between these two teams and these two fan bases, the rivalry has kind of been lacking those pranks and shenanigans that have gone along with the rivalry for a long time. Until Friday night, where our beloved Testudo was draped in a Hopkins flag. As you can see here, poor Testudo.
Yes, poor Testudo. But with Hopkins and Maryland as the 1 and 2 seed in the Big Ten tourney, we could be fated to see the rivalry part 2 later this year. And as we enter the postseason, some Terps have been named to the Tewaaraton Top 25 list. The Tewaaraton Award honors the country's top male and female college lacrosse players each year. Men's lacrosse has landed 2 nominations with face-off specialist Luke Weirman and defender Ajax Zabatello. Women's lacrosse also has 2 with goalkeeper Emily Sterling and defender Megan Ball. This marks the 2nd consecutive year that Weirman, Ball, and Sterling have been named as nominees. Maryland has won the award 9 times in the school's history, making them the most decorated school in the 19 years of the award.
Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Ryan Martin is going to join us to talk all about the recent struggles from the Dirty Terps behind the plate.
And we'll highlight one Terps historic trip to the NCAA Gymnastics Nationals. Stay with us.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
It took 20 years, and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Welcome back to the Left Bench. I'm Laura Shaughnessy here with Alex Gary. And Alex, not even rain could stop Maryland tennis this weekend from improving its win streak.
Yeah, I mean, 4 wins, including 3 conference wins. A dominant effort as of late.
It was senior day at the JTCC, but the Terps' pregame celebration doesn't immediately translate to on-court success. In the doubles matches, the Badgers' Maria Sholikova and Alina Mokotova defeat the recently honored pairing of Minorca Miranda and Maria Budin, giving Wisconsin the early 1-point lead. Despite taking their matches to 3 sets, both Dia Chala and Selma Kadar failed to secure the win, putting the Badgers up 3-0. Searching for a miracle, Miranda fights back in 3 sets in her match against Mokotova to put the Terps' first points on the board. Budin follows suit, winning her match in 3 sets to bring the score to 3-2. Callista Liu carries the Terps' momentum with an emphatic 3rd set win of her own, knotting the teams at 3-3 with only 1 match to go. The final match of the afternoon turns into a winner-take-all between Maryland's Ada Asa and Wisconsin's Kaja Jacobson. Asa claws back from down 5-2 in the 3rd, set to shock the Badgers and clinch the 4-3 comeback win.
We've been getting better, all year. We've taken some hard knocks. We've had some really bad luck with injuries, and they kept believing, and that continued today, and did such a great job. We lost the doubles point. I told them, don't flinch, be brave, just go for it, and they did a great job. And for our freshman that hasn't played that much to clinch against a top 30 team is really special.
After a huge blowout win on Saturday against Nebraska, Maryland baseball needed a win on Sunday to win its first Big Ten series this month. But it was a blowout win for the Cornhuskers that drops yet another conference series for the Dirty Terps. It doesn't take long for the scoring to get started. A 2-run shot from Tyler Stone puts the Huskers up early. Kevin Keister responds with a solo shot of his own. Terps down 1. This is as close as this game gets, as a 3-run inning in the 3rd, followed by a 5-run inning in the 4th, put the Huskers up double digits. Terps try and claw back with 3 more runs, but Nebraska can't be stopped. 5 more runs, ending this one 16-4 in a mercy loss for Maryland and a 2-1 series victory for Nebraska. Maryland baseball struggles have been well documented lately, and the Terps are really starting to miss the presence of contributors from last year's team.
TSC's Ryan Martin is in Studio B to tell us how one position in particular has seen a glaring drop-off in 2024. Ryan?
Much changed this season, and there's one position that's gone from featuring one of the Big Ten's best to now still trying to find an everyday starter. Maryland baseball has been trying to play without Ian Petrutz, Nick LaRusso, and Matt Shaw. But nowhere is an old face missed more than at catcher, where last year's captain Luke Schliger patrolled for all 63 games last season. Schliger's departure has been followed up by the trio of Devin Russell, Alex Kolarko, and Charlie Glennon. But let's dive into why they haven't been able to have the same success as last year's number 3. As Maryland's career leader in runs scored and 2nd in OBP, Schliger set the tone as Rob Vaughn's leadoff hitter last season, bashing the program's 4th most hits in a season while tacking on 35 extra base hits, 52 RBIs, and only having a 24% strikeout rate. The 2023 All-Big Ten first-team selection was ranked the year's #1 collegiate catcher by D1 Baseball for the stellar season, an accomplishment that saw him drafted in the 6th round of July's MLB draft by the San Francisco Giants. But with Schliger now 25 games into his professional career, the starting catcher duties have turned into a bit of a revolving door between Devin Russell and the 2 transfers, Alex Kolarko and Charlie Glennon. The trio have all had plenty of opportunities under head coach Matt Swope, making catcher the least consistent starting field position player for Maryland this season. Russell, Kolarko, and Glennon have combined for 23 extra base hits, 34 RBIs, and a poor 196 batting average on the year. That's 140 points lower than Schliger's mark last season. And the punch-outs have been problematic amongst this group. They've combined to strike out in over 40% of their 2024 at-bats, with Kolarko and Russell both in the top 12 as the most struck out Big Ten players this season. And that absence of offensive production has caused the Terps to experiment with their starting backstop even more this April. Across 13 contests this month, it's been a mixture of Russell and Kolarko, each starting 5 games at catcher, and Glennon taking the final 3. It's a factor that just wasn't felt by Maryland last season with Schliger at the position, and adjusting to this consistent change is a reason why the Terps have yet to win a weekend series this month. But guys, there is some optimism with these three. Devin Russell got the start for Saturday's win and posted the first three-hit game of his career. It's a much-needed confidence boost for this catching room. The only question is, how can they keep performing like this consistently? Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ryan. And when you look at it, for Calarco and Russell to both be bottom 12 in Big Ten hitting is just a really glaring problem for the Terps and something they're going to have to figure out if they really want to compete in this Big Ten.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out for them.
Exactly.
Maryland softball traveled to Ohio State in hopes of getting its first road win this month, but the Terps fell apart this weekend in their series with the Buckeyes. The night started off strong on Friday for pitcher Courtney Weich, who became one of only 4 Terps in program history to reach 600 career strikeouts. A few late-inning efforts for the Terps, but it's the Buckeyes walking away with a sweep on Sunday, winning this one 3-2. Maryland falls to 18-26 this season and 4-12 in the Big Ten. They'll wrap up regular season play in College Park this week with Towson on Wednesday and a weekend series with Purdue.
A historic end to a historic 5-year career at Maryland. Emma Silberman finishes 23rd at the NCAA Gymnastic Nationals. After earning a spot to Nationals earlier this month, Silberman made her first ever appearance. Silberman's day was highlighted by her 9.7625 vault, which would deliver her the 23rd spot in the competition. Silberman marks the first qualifying Terp to Nationals since 2001, a cherry on top of a legendary career in College Park.
Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll take a look at the progress of Maryland Athletics Building Champions initiative.
We'll also crown our Pro Terp, Terp of the Week, and Top 5 Plays. Don't go anywhere.
I tell my son, I love you every single day.
I love you.
Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. Alex Gary alongside Laura Shaughnessy. And Laura, since joining the Big Ten in 2014, Maryland is one of the cheapest schools in the conference.
Yeah, Alex, to make up for it, the athletic department decided to invest in all of its Division I teams.
TSC's Eddie Kalkin has more on what the department is doing to strengthen the facilities and the impact we see today. Eddie?
Yeah, guys, the athletic department isn't just investing in the big revenue sports like football and basketball. They're also focusing on giving all of their Olympic sports a place to become champions. Ever since athletic director Damon Evans came to College Park in 2018, he has made it a priority to invest in all areas of the athletic department. From a new broadcast operations center to new stadium lighting and video boards, Evans certainly has covered it all. But one project in particular started as a daunting vision, but now it's becoming a reality.
In December of 2023, the Maryland Athletic Department unveiled a new $11 million field hockey and women's lacrosse complex. It's the third of the expected 9 new facilities in the athletic department's Building Champions campaign.
Building Champions campaign, it's encompassing in a way that it's a platform that gives us a runway to how we're going to support all of our sport programs from a facility standpoint.
The goal is simple: build champions through new facilities. supporting Maryland's more than 500 student athletes. The campaign was introduced in January 2020, and now the results are beginning to show.
So many facility upgrades that are coming under this administration's leadership, and women's lacrosse and field hockey. It's been long needed and something that is just much appreciated.
Funding for the new facilities relies heavily on private donors and the athletic department's revenues.
A month after announcing the campaign, the athletic department promised at least $25 million for the non-revenue sports, doubling down on their commitment to all of Maryland's 20 varsity sports.
Construction for the latest facilities, new baseball and softball performance centers, started at the beginning of the 2024 semester and are expected to be completed by the end of the calendar year.
I'm sure it'll create more of an environment where we can all just get our work in and grind together and build that kind of chemistry together.
Last summer, the department broke ground on the new men and women's Barry P. Gossett Basketball Performance Center. It's expected to cost $52 million, the second highest in the campaign, behind football's Jones Hill House. But as for now, Mills says the campaign should be completed in a little bit longer than 3 years.
Having that kind of broad view, that master plan, if you will, gave an understanding not only for our staff to know what's to come, our student athletes, our coaches, our internal staff, but also for our donors to know kind of where they can start anticipating what investment they can help with from a facility standpoint.
Into detail about those 9 facilities, 3 of them completed, 3 of them in progress, and 3 TBD. Of course, highlighted by Jones Hill House, the most expensive one in the campaign, about $150 million. That one was completed in June of 2021. Now, Gossett Hall was renovated. That's kind of an all-purpose facility. That one was completed in early 2022. And then, of course, the most recent one was the field hockey and women's lacrosse complex back in December of last year. It was estimated to be about $11 million. And so now there's 3 other ones. The baseball and softball player development center, of course, they're going to be done, expected to be done about at the end of this calendar year. And then the highlight of the ones in progress right now is the Barry P. Gossett Basketball Performance Center. That one is the second most in the campaign at an estimated $52 million. Now, something to note, the softball one in 2020 was reported to be $2 million by Forbes, so that is something to keep in mind when we do get those numbers for the softball and baseball one, probably later on this year or when they're completed. And now there's 3 that have not been completed yet, and those are the Golf Development Center, the Track and Field Stadium, and the Soccer Stadium. They're still working out the details and the numbers for that, I'm told, by the athletic department. But Forbes also reported that the golf should be about $1.5 million, and the Track and Field Stadium should be about $9 million. Again, that was in 2020. So, Alex, Laura, just one more thing to note. All of these numbers and dates for the unfinished facilities are, of course, subject to change based on the evolving college sports landscape. Back to you.
Yeah, and it's kind of been cool to see everything develop since our time here at Maryland, and hopefully we'll be able to see the rest of those come to fruition in the rest of our time at Maryland.
Yeah, especially because at this school you've really seen an emphasis put on the football and basketball, but now we're going to see a little bit more of an emphasis put on some of the other, as he said, Olympic sports, getting a lot more of the facility and being able to really utilize what they really have.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. For more in-depth look at the campaign, head to TerrapinSportsCentral.com.
And now it's time to crown our Terp of the Week. We had to go with someone who closed out her 5-year career at Maryland at the NCAA semifinals on Thursday. It's all-around gymnast Emma Silberman. Silberman headed to Fort Worth for Session 1 of the NCAA Championships last week. She acquired a 9.7625 in the final rotation of the first semifinal with Stanford. Silberman was the first individual qualifier for the Terps since 2001. Silberman had a highly decorated stint with the Gym Terps over the past 5 years, earning second-team All-Big Ten, Big Ten Co-Gymnast of the Week, and 3 WCGA Scholastic All-American Awards. Congratulations, Emma, on being named our Terp of the Week.
This week's Pro Terp goes to a former member of TSC, someone who's evolving at the professional level, Steve Mailing. Steve has been killing it in Evansville, Indiana as a reporter for WFIE for the past 2 years. He recently announced that he'll be moving to Nashville to join WSMV TV. His first day was yesterday. Just another former TLBer making their mark on the world. Congrats to Steve on continuing his reporting career in the Music City and being named our Pro Terp. All right, Laura, you know what time it is. It's top 5 time.
Yes, it is. Alex, why don't you get it started for us?
Let's do it. Coming in at number 5, Daniel Kelly Snipe. He hit that in the top corner. Let's take a look at this one again. Even in slow motion, this one's moving 100 miles per hour.
Next up at number 4, we have Jacob Orr's incredible catch. Look at that effort by him right into the wall, slowing it down. Just great job by Jacob Orr.
And moving on to number 3, Courtney Reich. We had to include that 600 career strikeouts. She wanted it so badly, put in a bad place, and bang, she wanted that.
Just shy of the top spot, we have Diamond Williams' impressive catch in the foul zone. What a great defensive display from her to keep the Terps in the game.
And there was nothing else that we could have put for number 1. Grabbing our top spot is Terp of the Week, Emma Silberman, with her outstanding performance on fall on Nationals, landing her a 9.7625 to close out her career with Maryland. What just an outstanding player, Emma Silberman. So much praise.
One of the greatest.
One of the greatest. That'll do it for this edition of The Left Bench for our last time behind the desk this year.
Next week, Matthew Noose and Alexa Wooten will be behind the desk for our second to last show of the year, and you don't want to miss it.
Be sure to keep up with all of TSC's coverage on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com. We'll see you next time.